Hey guys, Jules here for That Film Theory, and I want to share a thought that I've been having about Harry Potter. Well, more specifically, Albus Dumbledore. So, when you think of this character, you probably think of a friendly, kindly headmaster who, while admittedly putting his students in a lot of danger and chucking them into forbidden forests, definitely has their best interests at heart, right? He's heroic. I mean, sure, he'd be fired if he worked at any other school, but he's a good guy. Or is he? Because I've been having a thought. What if instead of being this approachable mentor, what if instead he'd been working on something much darker? What if he'd actually been trying to weaponize one of his students, Harry Potter, to turn him into a tool for the upcoming Great Wizard War? What if he'd been trying to turn Harry Potter into an obscurial? Now I know what you're thinking, it might sound utterly insane, but trust me, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that this was happening right under our noses. With this in mind, I'm Jules, and this is That Film Theories. Was Dumbledore secretly trying to weaponize Harry Potter? We begin with a section from the prophecy.
Neither one can live while the other one survives.
This line, this one line, is the thing that led Albus Dumbledore to do something that many would decry as being monstrous, but to him is the only way that he can guarantee that he saves his friends and everything that he holds dear. And remember, this is totally the type of plan that a man who sends students into forbidden forests, who allows them to mess with time travel, and who has himself dabbled with the dark arts in his youth, could come up with. The big question that we have straight away is, why do this? Why not just train up a wizard to be the best and be a weapon in that regard? Well, the thing is that we have to look at the fact that time and time again in the books it's stated that genetics and hereditary background do not determine magical prowess. I mean, look at Hermione, the fact that she was born of two Muggle dentists, and the fact that Neville, whose parents were in the Order but has limited or to lower magical skills. It just shows that you can't guarantee magical skills based on your parents. Therefore, Dumbledore had to start thinking of ways for a potentially lower skilled wizard to fight back, or at least be useful in the fight against Voldemort. Therefore, he took a gamble and he started building what can only be described as a baby bomb. In established cases of obscurials in Pottermore, one unifying element is the presence of abuse and a resentment of one's own magical abilities. The obscurus develops out of suffering and suppression. So what better way to get this going than by leaving your marked chosen one with some truly detestable muggles? I mean, these guys, they've really hated their magical relatives. The slow build of years of torment, even as latent as simply reiterating how not normal he is and how criminal that is, would breed not only a resentment inside the child which would act as the chamber for his magical power to grow, but Dumbledore also knew that the Dursley would repress any magical abilities shown. Now, Dumbledore would have known about obscurials thanks to his encounters with Credence Barebone and the likes of Newt, but we also have to take into account that he actually probably had a much closer to home example in the form of his sister Ariana. And if you have any doubt about whether or not Ariana was an obscurial, just look at how his brother Aberforth describes her. It destroyed her, what they did. She was never right again. She wouldn't use magic, but she couldn't get rid of it. It turned inward and drove her mad. It exploded out of her when she couldn't control it, and at times she was strange and dangerous. But mostly she was sweet and scared and harmless. Now at this point you're probably asking yourself, why? Why would Dumbledore do this? He's meant to be a nice guy. Why would he infuse somebody with this much pain just for a payoff potentially later down the line? Well, to answer that, I say go back and look at his encounters with Harry and really ask yourself, were they as full of love and kindness as you first thought they were? If you study how Dumbledore treats Harry, you'll notice a pattern of systematic emotional dismantling and withdrawal of affection. Time and time again, Dumbledore places Harry in the firing line. He sends him to the Forbidden Forest. He allowed him to enter the Triwizard Tournament. He puts him in mortal danger at the age of just 11. And when you look at it like that, this isn't care, this is preparation. We also have to think about the moments that permeate Harry's day-to-day existence, the bullying from Snape and Malfoy, the longing for his parents and being reminded of them everywhere he turns, being hit with Rita Skeeter's tabloid smears, And what does Dumbledore do? Nothing. Well, I mean, sometimes he arrives to pick up the pieces, but what he's doing is allowing Harry to experience all of this pain in order to prepare him. He even says so himself. And you can't say that it's just because he's too busy, because his eyes and ears are all over the castle. And we have to take into account that Snape was Dumbledore's spy. What Snape knew, Dumbledore knew. And he still chose to do nothing. By doing this, what he wanted to do was make Harry resent his position as the chosen one within the magical community, as well as his powers, or expectations of what powers he had. He wanted Harry to crack under the weight of expectation through alienation. Now, many of you will be thinking at this point, doesn't Harry have a protective charm placed on him by Dumbledore? Well, that is very true, but what if this was an intent less for his safety and more of an insurance policy to make sure that his powers didn't manifest until the time was right? The charm placed on Harry was effectively the same one that his mother had kept him alive with, and while this might seem counterintuitive, putting a protective spell on a boy who you'd want to feel powerless and abused in order to nurture a bomb within them, it actually worked in his favour. The charm ceases to work when Harry leaves Privet Drive forever, which is why he always went back there during the summer, or until he became of age at the age of 17. What this did was buy Dumbledore time. Dumbledore knew that Voldemort was coming back, but he needed to keep Harry safe until the Dark Lord officially returned. And if that safety could also be used to his advantage, then even better. He simply let Harry's repression build in the hands of the Dursleys, who lived in a conformity bubble. To them, keeping up appearances was everything, so Harry was restrained by Muggle rules and regulations. Being normal was paramount, and that would inherently deny his magical potential, only giving more and more chances for Harry to become an Obscurial. 17 years of hatred, abuse, torment, and forced restrictions to be something that you're inherently not. That's going to have some impact, right? Now, there were other parts to the plan as well, of course. In order to draw Voldemort close enough to use Harry as a weapon, then he had to allow such an evil to present itself, which is where Draco comes in. Through the use of this student, and as Snape as his mentor, Dumbledore could control and pull the puppet strings to make sure that he actually allowed evil into his castle in the first place. I mean, we'd have to be stupid to assume that he didn't know what Draco was planning. After all, what Snape knows, Dumbledore knows. He allows Malfoy to plot and plan to bring Death Eaters into his school, putting the lives of countless others at risk, all for the sake of moving parts of a plan that had taken decades to build. Yet, the plan failed. This was all for nothing. And you have to wonder why. Well, it all comes down to a few key points, one of which is the Dursleys themselves. Because of the fact that they were so restricted and restrained, they never actually acknowledged his magical powers at all. They never told him to be ashamed of them because they never actually acknowledged they exist. And J.K. Rowling also had something to say on the subject in the same lines. The Dursleys were too frightened of magic to ever acknowledge its existence to Harry. While Vernon and Petunia had a confused hope that if they were nasty enough to Harry that his strange abilities might somehow evaporate, they never taught him to be ashamed or afraid of magic. Even when he was scolded for making things happen, he didn't make any attempt to suppress his true nature, nor did he ever imagine that he had the power to do so. Now, whether Dumbledore knew this about the Dursleys or not is open to debate, but he still pursued the plan anyway, hoping that once the charm wore off, that his true powers would be revealed. And if you still hold doubt as to whether this theory holds water, remember this exchange between Snape and Dumbledore. You have kept him alive so that he can die at the right moment. You have used me. I've spied for you and lied for you, put myself in mortal danger for you. Everything was supposed to keep Lily Potter's son safe. Now you tell me that we've been raising him like a pig for slaughter. Yet, the real reason this didn't work is actually down to Harry's mother and her love charm. Instead of being alienated and exposed as Dumbledore may have intended, the charm actually drew people towards him, filled him with charisma and self-worth. This turned him from being a bomb into a bearer, a flag bearer, which gathered all the people behind him in one unified motion to defeat Voldemort. At the end of the day, Dumbledore got what he wanted, but just not in the same methods. And there we go, those are my thoughts on Dumbledore trying to weaponize Harry Potter. Let me know if you agree with these down in the comments section below, and please give a like, share and subscribe, because we're a small channel but we are growing day by day. I hope you've enjoyed this, and you can check out some more videos to my left and right that we've been doing here on the channel. As always, I've been Jules, you've been awesome, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!